Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing True That Show podcast. We're so excited today. We have the best job in the world, and I am super excited, and I think everybody else is, because when you say to somebody, find the missing money, we can all think about the money that we wished we'd had, we'd hoped we had. Sometimes we had actually lost, depends. You walk into a casino and you're like, here's an interesting thing. Have you ever heard this over and over again? People like, yeah, I'm going to Vegas, I'm going to Reno, I'm going to wherever they're going to gamble. And they're like, I'm only willing to lose. And I always stop them. I'm like, why are you automatically assuming, one, you're going to lose, and two, become willing? Who loses by willing? It's like, just go throw your money out the window. Don't even bother to go. Don't take a taxi. Right. And so anyways, I'm willing to lose, but there's times that are more needing to find the missing money than others. And I think sometimes when, as an entrepreneur, I think I'm doing this, or I'm talking to this, or I'm creating this, and I know that I'm not making my value. I know it. And, you can give yourself excuses. Well, I'm in the build of my business, or I'm this, or I'm that. And sometimes I love this. It's like changing the title of a book that hasn't hit the bestseller list, and you change the title and you change none of the content, and the book goes like this. Sometimes it's a slight adjustment, but without being able to look down on yourself, right? And have someone have that perspective, it just takes so much longer to call yourself out. So I don't know if you've ever had that experience, people that are listening, or ever had that experience. Caroline, have you ever missed the money?
Many times. Yes. Actually, I remember so clearly one of my first experience of losing money. I was probably 6 or 7. Back then, our parents would give you, something like the empty object and say, go buy this at the store, and send you with the money. And I lost $5. There was some change of $5, and I lost it. And my mom just cried. Like, we were so close to our money. She cried. And I think it's one of the first times that I realized how much was $5. Of course, back then it was a bit more than now, but regardless, it was just money, and you didn't lose money. And then I started really paying attention when I was walking and finding, change and things like that. And I was just like, this is so amazing. And then, when you go to college and you grow up a bit more, there's parties. So the next day you find it in your couch, you find that change in your couch. And oh my goodness, when you're very, close to your money in those days, it's so nice to find money. But yeah, no, if I go a bit, in my older age, I think that it's really good to take the time to stop sometimes with your business and look, where are you missing the money? Because sometimes, you're not necessarily losing money, but you're missing the opportunity to make some. And thank God there's amazing, really well-versed people that have studied that are experts in that, and that can actually really guide us into how to do that. And, I think that the important thing that I want to focus on, it's not about stop losing money, because you can need some help without losing right now. It's just that you're not developing what you can actually develop to make more. So you're missing the money. And yeah, I have to say that now in my days, it's like when I clean the house, I find the toonies and the loonies, because now it's just small change for the kids. But I make about $5 to $10 a weekend. So I stopped giving them back the money. I keep it.
Well, you could invest that and in a long time you could have more. You know what? As you're talking, I had this amazing vision, and so again, I date myself. That's okay. I'm pretty sure you're close to telling everybody how old I am, anyways. I think it's the suspense going to kill them in our last show. We'll tell them. But I was standing at an IGA, and there was things called phone booths, people, and they used to have this phone booth in the IGA. And every time I went in there, because it was close to her home, and my mother would send me, I actually would and sometimes you'd find a dime or whatever. It was all dimes. And one time I opened it up and it was full of dimes, and it kept coming down. And I was like, do I tell anybody? I mean, I honestly felt like that's probably why I love slot machines so much. But I would agree with you. I actually have, like, I'm one of these people. I always say that my desk looks like a Tony Robbins garage sale because I have these little cards that I read, and I write these cards. And I have one about the universe has been just keeping some money aside for me, an account, and it's releasing it to me right now. So I love the missing money. But look, let's get into who our speaker is today, because Tracy is phenomenal. Not only does she help you find missing money, but really this woman has made her mark, not just for herself, but for others. She's going to share with us. I mean, she's been how many people have seen this woman on a TV show? It's like hundreds of thousands of people have seen this woman and received benefit from what she's talking about. She's received awards. I think it's few and far between that can say the Senate, the Assembly, and Obama, which I know your love for that man. And we're going to dig into a little bit of that and what she did for women in the Middle East. And honestly, not everybody gets to say that they've been in Forbes. Not everybody gets to say they've been in Forbes. So she's really hit some numbers, which I think is important, because when you're going to somebody and you want to go to somebody, one of the first things that you're wanting to ask them is, have you been there? What have you done for other people? This woman has been in business for 37 years. So I'm sure she has some very interesting stories, and she's got some bruises that, maybe took a while to recover. And that's important, right? So it's people like this that we look to shorten our bruising time. Anyways, enough about us. And, if honestly, Carolyn, if you want to make more money on the weekend, I'll actually put money in my couch. You can go over and clean my house. But with no further ado, Tracy, would you please join us in this interview? It's such a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you for making time for popping on to this True That show.
You're welcome. Loving being here.
Awesome. So why don't you give us a little bit, our listeners may or may not know you. We don't know what they know, but I think that we're here to find a little bit about you, how you kind of got into this. There's so many things that we could talk about. Please make sure you talk about how you were way ahead of your time, not only being an entrepreneur and a pioneer, but also combining that with your family life. So wherever you want to start us off, please just take it away.
Well, I guess I'll start you at the beginning, and then you can take me down whatever journey you want. I did start a software company when I was 19 years old in 1985. So yes, I've just outed myself date-wise. And it's really, as you say, this 37-year journey. There is nothing technologically I haven't seen. I've seen every social media platform. I was on the internet before it was even called that in 1992. I've done, work for the government. I've done work for JCPenney, Walmart, all the big giants. That's where I began in the software arena. And especially on the early days of the internet. And then I shifted to entrepreneurs when I really, evolved through that migration as you age of what your needs are. My early needs were, I want to make $1 million by the time I'm 30. And I did that. And then the next needs, started to then wrap around family. And then the next needs started to wrap around giving. And so through this evolutionary journey that I've had, it's felt like multiple careers, and yet nothing has changed as far as my connection to technology, and of course, very much helping women.
Wow. Talking about helping women, why don't we kind of segue that way? Because people were like, did you actually just say Obama? Did you just actually say the Senate? So we know that came out of a deep-seated project for helping out women. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, it began in when I was, primarily helping women to move their businesses online. That's where it began. We are a full digital marketing agency, and then I won New Internet Marketing Success of the Year from a company called the World Internet Summit. And so they flew me, all expenses paid, from California, which is where I was living at the time, to Singapore to my very first stage. So as a result of that, I actually got booked by that agency. I spent, 5 years, 39 countries, traveling with 15 men, and I was the only woman on that stage. And throughout that journey, all I could think about was getting more women on the stage, empowering more women. And then as I was traveling more and I was going to Dubai and Bahrain and the Middle East and, all of these other countries, and I started to see vast cultural differences, of course, when the opportunity arose that there was a way for a women's entrepreneurial center to open up in Kuwait. I jumped aboard on that project, and I, flew there, spent time, trained women on all the business practices and things of that nature, opened up the center, and then, between that and some other projects that I've been working on, that's where I won awards from the Senate, the Assembly, the White House, and President Obama.
Wow. Wow. Just hearing Obama, I'm like, what? I love this man. So sorry, that completely sidetracked my mind because I thought of him 2 seconds. But what I wanted to say is, you're casually, and we were not going there at all, but I want to take a moment to acknowledge that, because you casually said that he traveled with 10 men and you were the only woman. And I've worked in industries for years that I was the only woman. And that alone is quite a challenge. You have to be made of stone because I don't know. And maybe you just give us a little snippet about that, because usually there's like, when you're a woman amongst men trying to develop something, you have to work like basically 4 times what they're working to prove your, especially in those days, you probably had to overwork to really, prove your value, if I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and the beautiful part is, if we back it up, as a 19-year-old in a software industry, right? 1, women weren't there at all. 2, every company that I was going against were like IBM, they were Ward Millett, all of the giants is who I was going against for contracts. And so it made me, really adaptable, because I wasn't, I certainly was not winning it on the basis of me being a woman. And my detriment, my age was a huge detriment at that time, because I'm going against 50 and 60-year-old experienced men who brought in, 6 guys for a pitch, and then there was me. And so when I hit the stage and that circuit with the men, it did give me the ability to hold my own. But having said that, of course, it was a razor edge sword kind of in many times. 1, because they bonded, they had traveled so long, they'd been together so long, it's like a newbie coming in. And then, what was said often, it was not appropriate. What was done was not appropriate. There's a lot of activity on the road that I would witness. And in essence, I actually left the speaker circuit because of things that I started to vocally disapprove of. And that's things that were being said from the stage that were not true and not possible. And so that's where it was. But during that time, I definitely had to start to develop my own identity. That was the biggest thing. When I first hit the stage, I made a big error in that I tried to be like one of the guys, right? Mm-hmm. So I literally dressed in a suit, right? So it's kind of like, now there's just a woman in the suit. We'd be speaking in front of 9,000 people in Australia. And I just looked like a guy, another guy on the stage. So it was later, as my confidence built up and as my successes built for what I got for clients, that's when I started to really evolve more into, I'm a woman. And that's where I especially started to move into the fact that, I want to serve women here. And that became my differentiating factor, especially on the stage during that circuit time, that I really want to ensure that the woman is served, because they weren't being kind of served from the stage. I was very grateful to be there. But I wanted to make sure that they were served in an entrepreneurial way, because we have very different learning styles. And I wanted to make sure that I set up my programs or my coaching programs or my courses with that knowledge of how a woman consumes data, how a woman consumes and needs the emotional connection, how she needs more encouragement, all of these things in general. And I just make sure I integrated them into my programs. And that, again, helped me to be successful on that circuit, because it was a dog eat dog. You don't perform, because it was platform selling. You don't sell, you're gone. That was the simple rule, right? So I also had to become a master presenter and a master salesperson.
Well,
Wow.
I admire you. I admire you because I know for a fact that, it's a very, very bumpy road. And also I want to thank you because it's basically because of women like you that, now we have more of, I want to say equality, but whatever, we're not going to go in that subject, but it's because of women like you that pioneered and paved the way that, we're having it a bit different. But let's talk about another thing that you were pretty much ahead of your time, and that was homeschooling your kids and taking your kids out of school. Like I'm curious to see, not to see, but to hear, what was the reaction when you actually said, I'm going to teach my kids myself?
Well, I pulled them out, but I actually didn't teach them. So I'll give you the scenario of how that worked. So when I got pregnant back in, I guess, 1994, at that moment, I had an office, 15 staff. We were a thriving software company. And I was like, I need to move home to raise my children. I'll work from the home. So this was a very early adoption of the remote work environment. And then we'll take it from there. So I did. We set up a whole office at home, and I'm pregnant. And as I'm sitting there and the child wasn't born yet, I realized, wow, you know what? My husband needs to be here. We need to create this unprecedented, almost family harmony situation where we co-parent, where we both raise the kids, we instill their moralities and their responsibilities and their trust and their ethics and their values. We need to do that. And in order to do that, he needs to move home too. So back in 94, we had all of our staff go virtual. This was almost pre-internet. So it was, the logistics was extremely demanding. And, we really had to be structured to make all of that work and to keep up production. And then we instilled that, and it was one of the greatest things I think I've done in my entire life thus far, because the family harmony that it created, me and my husband were already working side by side 24/7 in that office environment. I started the company in 1985. He joined me, or I stole him from Computer Associates in 1992, a company you guys will be familiar with out in Vancouver. And then, of course, as the children came, and we had one child born every year, exactly in the same month, a year apart. And so it was like boom, boom, boom. So we had 3 kids at our feet. We're running the company, we're running staff, and we really learned how to maneuver all of that and get structure in place. And just honestly, the kids were so amazing. They were, learned respect, and they learned when to be quiet, and they learned when it was okay to come on in and things of that nature. And then as they grew older, and we're still running the company that way, again, decades before remote became the norm, I started to travel. I got booked by this agency, and I'm traveling all over the world. And as I'd done my first couple of countries, I'd gone to Australia, and then I'd gone to the UK, and I'd gone to Singapore and places like that. I was like, well, I want my husband and my kids to come with me, because this is really what having a digital marketing company is all about, is we can do it from anywhere. So we started to move more, we moved away from software, moved into the internet marketing end of things, setting up websites, etc. And it was a beautiful thing, because I could then, once the kids were removed from the school system and they'd gone to what we'll call internet school. It's what they're doing now, only it was a pilot project. We were the very first year that that was available. And because of that, now I could travel, me, my husband, and my 3 kids all around the world. We would go to Australia for a month, and I would do 3 speaking gigs, and we'd spend the rest of the time touring around. I would take them to Dubai in the UK and all over. So they have seen so many beautiful countries. We've gone on, and 9 cruises. They've seen another 15 to 20 countries based on those trips, where I would speak on those as well. And so it was an absolutely incredible journey to take them all through. And it was, learning cycles. But what's funny is, fast forward to 2020, and that was the reality of what we had already lived and what we'd already mastered, quite frankly. And so it was interesting, almost this deja vu prediction that we'd been through. But to me, again, that was the greatest blessing of all, to have all 5 of us able to really live what I'll call almost a freedom lifestyle.
Wow. So is that where Reach Millions Academy came into play? At what point? And as your children got older, how did that integrate? Did they work in your business? Did they branch off? I mean, maybe kind of finish a little bit up on that through your story, but when I think about the Reach Millions, I mean, I think it's very easy, just in this little time that we've shared together, that you've had great impact. And one of your gifts, or one of your dharmas that we would say, is really to impact others, in a vast way. So I love that the title of your company now has certainly reflective of what it is that you've done, because you have reached millions, and you've obviously been a very empowering person in that arena for women and men, right? For women and men, because there tends to be both of us on the planet. But so what is it that you offer now? How did you put that all together in a platform that allows, because, I don't know if you're still doing stuff on stage, and I don't know if you're still doing that kind of work. I'm sure you do, but from what I know of you, you've done that digital, what you do for others, you've done for yourself, with programs from everything from under $100 to well over $5,000 and everything in between. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So again, the kids are now, 26, 27, 28. We've successfully navigated all the roads, and they're extremely happy, which I love, when your kids can be happy and you're just a general happy family. Well, during that cycle, of course, I would come up with programs that I was able to do from anywhere. So the first one that came was called Message to Millions. Okay. So that's called Message to Millions Mastermind. And that was a mastermind, and that people can still join today. And that allowed me to meet with them and benchmark them through their own businesses. Then it went another step to what's called Instant Online Impact, where what we would discover is some of the needs that they required in order to grow or next level or scale was they needed the website, they needed the landing page, they needed the email funnels, they needed the programs integrated and things of that nature. So that whole program is all about us building that out for somebody. And then, so the hierarchy started to move up and up to around programs that were $100,000, where I would be co-CEO. That's the level we went. And then it went to okay, I need to be able to pull people up from ground zero that are just starting, that don't have a bigger budget. And that's where Reach Millions Academy was born. And so that takes my knowledge of Clubhouse, list building, branding, all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook Live. It just goes on and on and on. I probably have about 35 courses in Reach Millions Academy. And those all came about through step one. I would either often invest in a mentor or a course. I would learn it, apply it, make it work, and then I would simplify it. So again, because I graduated with a degree in computer programming, I'm also a certified management accountant. I like a logical ABC step-by-step. That's how I learn. That's how I do well. And that's what I started to create for others, so that anybody could kind of walk through. And that's where the academy started to be built. So I would always test it with myself. Then I would test it with beta groups, bring in small groups. Then I would take it to the masses. And that's where these courses were born. And then often the in-between ground became more robust systems like your $1 Million Design, where I show you how to create the infrastructure of a $1 million company. And the beautiful part about that is the simplicity of it, where you begin and then what you do with it. So those are kind of some of the ranges that I have, which start at $27 all the way to 100 grand, depending on what your budget is.
So I can hear half my audience, and half my audience right now is going, okay, so for the person that doesn't come from a tech background, from a person that, and we experience that a lot with the younger millennials know a lot about certain programs, maybe don't know as much about the business. Then you've got these, old cats like us that know about business because we've been in corporate or we've had traditional businesses or whatever, and we've had to embark on this social. Usually what I see is that, at a certain point when you mention the 3, social media platforms, people get a glazed look on their face. And so for the person who's listening, Caroline's laughing. So for the person who's listening right now, it's like TikTok and Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram and Clubhouse, and you could spend all day trying to learn. What's your advice for the person who's just trying to get to that next step? And they might be on one platform. I mean, how many platforms does someone need? What do they do? Because it can be so engulfing, Tracy, right? The truth of it. So, I mean, you're clearly an expert and you've got it in your veins. But for those people that are trying to break, like, oh my God, how do I venture into this world? What do you say?
Okay, well, again, I have a program called The Science of Social Media that resolves that and unfolds it all. But here's my step 1 advice to all business people out there. And that is, step 1, you need to identify your brand. And why do we need to know our brand? Because your brand has to carry and align through all the social media platforms. So simple model is me. Okay, I'm a personal brand at this point. So we got Tracy Repchuk, right? Yeah. Then that means all my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., LinkedIn, are all /Tracy Repchuk. That means you're aligning your brand. So I tell people, as new things come out, grab claim your name. Okay. So you want to go and do that. Even if you never think you're going to do Pinterest, or even if you don't think you're going to do TikTok or any of these platforms, as you see a trend emerging, claim your name. And I don't care if you don't touch it, because the next step after that is you need to now identify where is your target market, right? If your target market isn't on Clubhouse, let's say, don't spend any time there. We only have 24 hours in the day. Burning 3 hours on a platform that isn't producing income for you is not a smart choice or smart use of your time. So then find out where your target market is and then zone in on that platform. So if you're a business entrepreneur, your target market may be LinkedIn, right? Now, as you guys know, I have 27,000 followers. I'm a LinkedIn advisor. I'm very big on LinkedIn, but I'm moving all my stuff, as you know, to Be Connected, because that's the new social media platform that's uptrending now. And so I'm extremely excited about that. And that's where I'm moving all of my groups. It's the only social media platform paying me to create a group. I created big groups on Facebook and things of that nature. So step 1, you just got to make sure you're going to go to that platform, open up, if you're going to start with a Facebook group and things of that nature, go where they are and then move them to your list. It's always been, social media is just the feeder system, right? If you're not building a list, and this is why, again, I'm so excited or get so passionate about a landing page and an email marketing system, or not a responder system as it's called, because if you're not building a list, you're not building a business. Right? In Facebook, whatever, 100,000 followers, Facebook can say to me tomorrow, and they've said to many people, bye-bye, we don't like what you're doing, you infringed our terms of service, all gone. That entire infrastructure or that entire asset you thought you had is gone. And so everybody needs to funnel into your list, into your own autoresponder system, because that's the only way you can control the communication. When you control the communication, now you control the income. The rest of it's randomity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to pass it over to Caroline because she
Yeah.
just loves this topic.
Yes, I do. But the one thing that I actually really appreciate in your answer right now, and probably one of the first time I get it this way, when entrepreneurs ask, so which platform should I go on? Usually people always have an answer. They're always like, oh my gosh, you need to go on Instagram. That's where it's happening right now. Or go on Clubhouse. That's where it's happening, or whatever. I like how you actually gave the answer. It's no. Identify your brand and then decide your target market. Where are they? And that's actually a very logical answer because, depending on the business you're doing, the age you're targeting and everything, there's not one platform that is for you. It's like, it depends. It's all individual. So thank you for that answer. Like, I feel that was really refreshing. You didn't give us a number about go on Instagram because there's that many millions and blah, blah. So I'm glad to hear that. And I actually did check out your new platform, and it's really interesting. It's different. So why don't you give us a bit, what's different about that platform, Be Connected?
So the reasons I am so in love with this right now is it's spam free. Now, so many platforms out there are just kind of either trying to sell you, or particularly LinkedIn, which since the pandemic has dramatically changed focus. I was booking all sorts of great things on LinkedIn, and then all of a sudden it became a spam platform. And so over here, you have to be invited, which of course, the gates are vetted at that point. And then you are rated. So when you do an encounter or a meeting or make a connection with somebody, which is done automatically, by the way, because it's like an eHarmony dating app for business, which means you fill in the data and it matches you to people and says you should go and connect with these people, right? So I love that. And afterwards, you do a 5-star like Uber and Lyft rating on the experience. And that is really good because then what's called the connection generator, which is a proprietary software based on artificial intelligence, it starts to move you up the ranks. So you are promoted more on the platform because you are a 5-star great person, just like everything else out there, right? And the rest start to move down, which means now you're getting the best of the best of the best of the people that are on that platform. All the people that are on that platform coming on are entrepreneurs. So, it's, that's what you want to be when you're on the platform, is interested in either connecting with other entrepreneurs or needing services like graphic artists or printers or, that type of thing, and connected to a business. So that's my favorite part of it. My other favorite part of it, though, is the ability for me to broadcast a TV show from the platform. I had been looking at doing my own show for so long, and but it was $5,000 to get on, and it was $1,000 a month, and it wasn't the cost of it. It was more like, I don't know if I'll do it. Right? It was really a time thing for me. This allowed me to go on and go for it without this huge money commitment. Is like, $500 to get in and be able to broadcast. And now that I've done it, I have reached millions, .tv, and I'm loving it, and I am doing it. And now, I just love I think the cost effectiveness. I think the other big thing there is the type of people I am meeting. They're all intentional, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And that's probably 3 of my favorite features.
Wow. So I know that we're kind of getting close to wrapping up our time with you today. And I think the biggest thing that people get is when people can give that advice to help move them or make them feel like what they're doing is worthy. We know that as 3 entrepreneurs, there's things that you do that don't work. There's things that you do that you kind of give up a little bit before it happens. And just in general, and a lot of people that listen to our show, Tracy, are entrepreneurs, and they listen to someone like you that's been 37 years or, over 20 years or 25 years, and the number of people and where you've been able to get your accolades. But I think, like all of us, we call it the True That Show, and everyone's had their hit and misses. And so in the world of normalcy, if someone's going through a time where it's not working, or when you were in a time where it wasn't working. Like, I'm sure 3 kids and raising your children that way turned out to be phenomenal, but there must have been times where your hair was in a ponytail and you were crying too. So, right, it's called grit. It's called grit. So maybe share some things that you've done personally that you've been able to like self-soothe, personal development. Like, what do you do for you that got you through that, what sounds like an incline, and, we're all like, hey, I'd love to have that, but we know. So can you give us some advice around that?
Oh, I mean, I've had hundreds of ups and downs, right? But I think there's been almost 5 major ones. And so, and one of them, quite frankly, being when the pandemic hit. And it was not so much for me from a financial perspective, that actually became purpose-driven, in that I questioned, even prior to that moment, am I doing what I'm supposed to be? Because I was, doing whatever, the websites and the this, that, and the other thing. Am I playing the bigger game? And then Be Connected came to me within 4 days of myself asking that question. And that was the bigger game. That's the $1 billion game, right? So that was the pivot point. So when those moments happen, I almost dismantle where I am and take it back down to ground zero. It happened to me in SARS. Like, so when in Toronto, when I was there and SARS hit, well, that was a possible financial disaster, because I had so much staff and overhead that I was carrying, and everybody was shut down, and it was local to Toronto, but that's where I was situated at that time. And so it went down to, again, I went down to ground zero and said, what do I really want to be doing? That's when we switched from a software company to a digital marketing agency, because I said, I want to get my laptop. I want to be able to go anywhere I want. And that's when we moved from Canada to the US and started a brand new company. And so, and then prior to that, right, there's pivot points and major, often external situations, which is, something to look at. In that, prior to that, we had 2 major contracts, right? One with the Lottery Corporation and one with a distribution company that was worldwide. It was where all our software was going. I had flown to South Africa to attend a launch of my product called Remote Desk, right? Again, it was miles ahead of its time. It was all, iPhone kind of technology way back in 2008. And so I'm launching this product only for the company to tell me, as I practically land there, the distribution company, that they're going to develop this software and cut off my entire dealer distribution. So that was, not only was I devastated, I was devastated and away from home. My entire support system wasn't there. I'm in South Africa. And so it was a disastrous moment, but that's, again, you have to dig so deep when you're an entrepreneur. You have to get creative and you have to stay calm, right? So that's what I did. I remained calm while I was there. Well, and again, 2 weeks I was there, because we were on a whole circuit of all the places where our software was distributed. We're, doing Cape Town and Joburg and all of these places. And then I got to fly home and I had to reassess, right? So we lost our major income stream and had to pivot. I know people hate that word, but that's exactly what had to happen, right? Prior to that, right, if I take a look at another major moment, and I think a lot of women might really appreciate this one, is early in my company, as it's starting off, and I'm like 21, I've made my millions, I'm driving my BMW. My software company was great. I'm what do you call it? I got my fiance, which is my business partner at the time. We're gonna get married. He literally came to me 2 weeks before the wedding, said he got another woman pregnant, and he's calling off the wedding, right? So first, I'll call that gut punch. What do you do, right? I'm young, I'm 21. I'm now completely and utterly devastated with my entire fairy princess moment pulled out from under me. But then the next step, just led to a series of really bad mistakes. And I'm going to put that down to age, right? I've become a heck of a lot wiser now. But what do? I go stupid. I marry a guy on a rebound. Then my partner locks me out, stops all my credit cards. 3 months into the marriage, I discover it is not an ideal marriage. In fact, I've married a man who's got a temper that I was not aware of, that didn't reveal itself early. And he takes all the money out of my bank accounts, shuts all my credit cards. And then I have both of them vying for my company that I had built. So there we go. I have two guys pulling at me and I didn't know what to do. I literally just wanted to curl into a ball, right? But again, now the big girl panties have to come up and I had to decide, do I want to carry on this route and deliver what I promised these major clients that I have, or do I want to run away? Right? Well, I wanted to run away, of course. It sounds a simple answer. Screw everybody, I'll start again, right? And I'll let him have it. That's it. That was the deal. Everybody was just going to get it. I was going to walk away and almost buy my way away from them to start fresh. But I didn't. I actually paid off the ex-husband to be. I gave him everything he wanted just to get him out of my life. And I brought in another partner, which is now the love of my life. I stole him from Computer Associates. I brought him into the company because I needed that role replacement, and did a stock share, right? I said, okay, you can have obviously 49% of the company. We'll build it back up and we'll go from there. But man, especially I think as a woman, we have so much to juggle, right? With kids too, right? And so anyone who's been through, divorce, health, children, any issue that we're constantly facing, by God, we all deserve awards and medals, because it's never a straight line. And I think one of the beautiful parts is building up resilience. How did I do that? Primarily personal development, spiritual awareness, really diving deep into my bigger picture of why I'm here on the planet. And when I removed myself from me and became really more of the, conduit for a purpose, that's when life became so much easier, because it just became more about the delivery and service of others. But I'm going to say this as a warning for women in particular. It does not discount the fact that you need buckets of money. Okay. So don't do one without filling the coffers, because you need to support your own personal infrastructure. You need that personal well-being, and we're givers, we're philanthropists, right? We're constantly wanting to help others, and we need money to do that. Long answer.
I'm going to let Caroline take it, but I first want to thank you for inciting some honesty there, because that was exactly, I think, what people need to hear. So I'll let Caroline take it. I just wanted to honor and thank you for that.
Yeah, not that I can relate to any that you said, like divorce or different marriages or stuff like that. No clue. But no, the one thing that I heard in what you said as well as what you didn't say is you didn't say at any point, like, why is this happening to me? So you did not adopt the victim mentality. You always put your big girl panties, like you said, and got back up and looked forward. So I think that one of the big thing that was part of your success is that you didn't dwell on what you lost, even if you lost big things. And I mean, it's, you're saying that within 5 minutes, and it seems like all casual because now it's all done and we moved through it and you succeeded. But I mean, one of the key points, I think, is to really not dwell on things. And when something happens, you need to acknowledge it and be like, okay, I'm getting back up, now what? And that's actually like what I noticed with the strong women around me, with whether it be Deb, you, or any of the other women that I am actually surrounding myself with now. It's that it's not about what happens to us, because it's not happening to us. It's situations that are happening, and then you need to deal with them and move on. And how are you going to fix it and go to the next step? So thank you for sharing that, because like that said, like, it was really honest. And for me, like, it helps me, it even solidified even more what I think about don't be a victim, just step up, pivot, and adapt and keep on going. And I think that after 2020, a lot of people got the experience of what pivoting is and what readjusting is and being adaptable. And you said that at the beginning of the interview. And I've come to learn that when people can say that of themselves, that's the people that actually will go through a lot of different experiences and not dwell on things because they're adaptable. So that's pretty much a quality that I would tell every entrepreneur, like, be adaptable. So I want to thank you, Tracy. Like, I've learned today, I've really enjoyed your story. Gosh, you're such a humble woman, but so strong and powerful. Like, it's crazy. Like I said, you go through stories so fast, but there's so much work and strength behind all of that. So I'm gonna let you a very last quick word before we give the word to Deb, because she likes to have the last word. So we have to talk and then let her finish. So Tracy, your last words.
I mean, my last words are really, if you want to continue the journey with me, you can take a look at jointracy.com, all free resources for you to really get familiar with what it is that I do and offer. And, if you're an entrepreneur out there wondering if you're in the right place, you're always in the right place. Okay. So just learn from wherever it is that you are, keep your eye on the future, and always move towards that goal and make sure that everything you're doing goes towards the goal.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I love the last piece there, because for me, when you have something happen, the ability to self-evaluate is critical. I tend to do that through journaling and reaching out to people that know me on the inside, right? So thank you so much for that. And I know our listeners are very much going to enjoy. So thank you for putting the information there. Please contact Tracy for any and all of what she shared with us today. And if you yourself see yourself being interviewed on the True That Show, you think that you have something that you'd like to share or brand yourself like Tracy was talking about, or brand it as what it is you're doing, please reach out to us. We're always here to help, not only just interview, but to help future entrepreneurs or people that are looking to do something pretty cool and crazy and exciting. So thank you for joining us. Of course, we have our new day planner that should be hitting the streets anytime soon. There's incredible quotes from thought leaders that are putting messages to you to help you get through your years of entrepreneurship, and just so many things just coming down the pipeline. Some great book launches. If you'd like to be invited to the private book launches, please send us your name and we will put you on the list. So with that being said, it was a wonderful time to spend time with you, Tracy. As always, Caroline, I get to talk to you 1,000 times a day. It's one of the gifts of being in business, and then coming on and meeting great people. So with that, we will wrap up, and please feel free to share this video with anyone and everyone that you think needs to hear from Tracy. Thanks, guys.